Morning, everyone. Charles Moscowitz here. My guest is Sandra Lee, and she is an author, writer of songs, columns, books, music. She's quite prolific in that way, which is why I'm particularly interested in speaking with her today. And the book in question is Dear Donald, Letters from a Loving Deplorable. Thanks for joining me, Sandra.
You're welcome. I've got my book right here. Do you
Hold
know
it
I
up.
have to read it again? It's about the fourth or fifth time I've read it because I forget what I said. you know, I'm
No, I
writing
can. I know.
books. I'm almost done with book two, which is Dear Donald, 4 more years. I know I'm a little presumptuous, but I think he's going to win.
You know, what's one of the things that interests me in your analysis here is that you say that you are the demographic that would vote for Trump. And while I agree with that on paper, that being suburban women, that's not conventional wisdom. Conventional wisdom is that that's his antithesis in terms
No,
of support.
I'm speaking to suburban women actually,
Hmm.
because I know they're having a hard time with his demeanor. And I understand that. But my father came from Lebanon when he was 18, and he started from the ground up and he became a rich man in this country, as did Donald Trump's father. So I relate to that experience. And when you have started with nothing, and I'm telling you nothing, my father could not read English, he could not speak English. He thought if I could just learn the language, that would help. He started with nothing. And in this country, you can do that.
You know,
Donald
I mean,
has that history. And
no, I mean, I think that
relate.
what you're touching on there is why a lot of people relate to Trump, and why I relate to Trump in a way as someone who's been in business, who has failed at businesses, who have succeeded sometimes in businesses, in that he is a businessman and he thinks like a businessman. You know, it can be troublesome for him sometimes because he doesn't speak in the usual, politesse of the politician with a talk. There's a lot of double talk and a lot of sophistries and innuendo. Trump speaks plainly, and there's an honesty about him.
Don't you
There's
love it? Don't you love it?
I personally do. Yeah.
I love it. And what I'm trying to give women permission to do, and many of them already have given themselves this permission, relax. It's okay. He's not going to corrupt your children. You don't have to, oh, my children. Oh, God, my children. What will my children think? What do you think your children are going to think? Kids today are very worldly. This man has lived a very full life. He's made a lot of mistakes. You can certainly make him wrong for his mistakes, or you can forgive him for his mistakes. We've all made a lot of mistakes. And it reminds me of that biblical story where, who's going to be the first one to throw a stone?
Right.
If
Let
you
him
feel
step
you've
forward.
never made a mistake, be my guest. But it's insane the way they're criticizing him for things he's outgrown and outgrown and outgrown. He's become a better man, a more spiritual man. And all that aside, what he has achieved politically is nothing short of miraculous.
Oh, it's phenomenal. I mean, he's been a hugely successful president. I mean, many people might have had their doubts when they first voted for him in the beginning. I mean, I certainly did, even though I did vote for him. But now, I mean, it's obvious after 3 years that he's been a phenomenal president.
He has proven himself.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely has. You know what I wanted to share with you? I'm so glad we have a half an hour.
sure.
I was browsing through my own book. I've read my own book 4 times because I forget what I said.
Yeah.
I I was trying to get a handle on what is my message to the suburban woman. And my message is be open-minded. Be willing to keep your eyes open, your ears open, and your heart open. And my example was in my book. I wrote a couple of pages called Dream Come True. Book is like Catcher in the Rye. Did you ever read Catcher in the
I
Rye?
did read that. Yeah.
A little hysterical, 1 minute he's talking about this, 1 minute he's talking about that. He's talking about society, and then the next minute he's talking about kids on a playground. It's all over the place. Mine's a little bit like that.
Hmm.
I just want to read a short segment to you about Kanye West going to the White House.
I remember that.
Kanye West was anti-Trump.
Sure.
And then he decided maybe not. And then he went to the White House to visit. And while so many of my subjects are serious, tragic, dangerous, contentious, and threatening, it is no wonder that I'm so delighted to laugh and smile watching Kanye West's visit to you, Donald, at the White House. It was adorable. I felt such joy at his enthusiasm and delight. He was candid and honest in sharing his feelings. He was hopeful and positive. He was happy and excited. He hugged you. For one brief moment, I felt there was hope for the world. He was bold and brave. He expressed his honest emotions. Kanye melted my heart, and yours too, I think. Donald, there was love in that room. It was palpable. One young female commentator later said she wanted to shoot the feelings in that room into her veins. You were for a moment embraced and appreciated by a powerful Black man for your support to the Black community. I love you, he said, and my eyes filled with tears. And you know what? That poor Kanye no sooner did that, and all kinds of Democrats got on his back and tried to change his mind, and they
They
did.
suddenly said that he was crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
if it had been anyone else, they would have been called racist, which of course they were being racist
But you know
in
what?
their attack on him.
He came back.
Yeah.
He's a born-again Christian. He's preaching to thousands and thousands of people. This man has a changed heart. Donald has a changed heart. I have a changed heart.
I
So I can relate to this.
Yeah.
I'm not the woman I was when I was 24 or 34 or 44. I'm not telling you how old I am. You don't get to.
Okay.
But I've changed, haven't you?
Of course. Yeah, and I think that Trump has changed a lot. And you can see that. I think that, in a way, one of the revealing comments that Trump made, it was when this whole business blew up about the private conversation that he had using vulgar terms that is a mantra now for his enemies. On the bus, I forget what they call that, the tape. And he said he was very embarrassed by this, and also that he has changed a lot since then. And one of the things that changed him was the process of running for president, and that he was able to get out there in the real world and meet thousands of people from all across the country in all various states and on the street and hear from them and listen to them. And that changed him. And I can relate to that because I ran for office and I had a similar experience going out and getting signatures. It changed me. And I was not, my mind came out of the clouds in a way, and it went down to the real street where people are and what people believe in and what they feel and what they're dealing with. And I think that is exactly what happened with Trump. He really became in touch with something outside of his usual, comfort zone. And, and yet the big ticket item, of course, for his enemies is to play the card that he's got something against women. He's got something against Black men and women. He's got something against Hispanics. He's got something against groups. And it's really, in a way, the same card that they played against any conservative or Republican. I mean, they tried to do this to Mitt Romney. They do it to anybody that doesn't goose step to the left. But in a way, with Trump, it's much more severe because he actually is conservative and he's actually doing things. He believes in what he says. He wants to make America great. He's not in it for any reason other than that. I mean, here's a man who has been...
They're so angry.
Yeah.
The left is hysterically angry because he's pulling the rug out from under them, and they're so corrupt. They're so corrupt, it shocked even him. The corruption is so deep-seated. It's so pervasive. People are in Congress too long. People are in government too long, and they start finding a million ways to get rich, and they get filthy rich. And they're not doing it honestly. It's become a very dirty game, and he's trying to clean it up. That he's not a saint. I'm not telling you he's a saint, even though he's changed a great deal, and I think he's trying to become a more Christian man. I'm trying to become a more Christian woman, but that doesn't make me a saint.
Right.
No, if you want anybody,
quite the opposite. As a good Christian, you are fault. You deal with problems, and you deal with, issues that come up.
And they're always
We
throwing
don't claim to be
all the
utopian. I
time.
mean, whereas on the left, you have somebody, a slick operator like, I don't know, Obama or somebody. Every word that he says is fed to him. He moves well. He looks great. Everything is polished, and he speaks in that totalitarian language of indirection that they're all used to hearing. Whereas Trump comes out and he speaks plainly, and he is who he is, and sometimes it makes you cringe a bit, but it's what it is, and you know
Doesn't
what you're
make me
getting. It's a
cringe
known
anymore.
entity.
I don't cringe.
Well, I don't either, but I understand. I love his stuff. I
But
love his tweets.
I got used to it. And
Yeah.
I stopped making him wrong for it. And he makes me laugh. I mean, I watch these rallies and I go, what a breath of fresh air.
Oh, I know. That's
I was
incredible.
talking the other day about showers and the water and the water pressure, and it was so relatable. I mean, everybody was just laughing so hard because they've all had this experience with the light bulbs, the new light bulbs that are awful and everything is energy saving. Half the time they're not saving energy, they're making it worse instead of better.
Oh, I know. The old light bulb is actually much cleaner. There's
Yeah,
no question. And Trump
the
is the
whole
type of guy that's going to
environmental
come out and
issue,
reveal that.
the whole environmental issue is very complicated.
And also, just as a little sidebar on the environmental issue, this country has reduced carbon emissions this past year. So if you believe in global warming, and I don't want to get into whether or not the science on that, but the fact is, what they're talking about is air pollution. This country has dropped air pollution, whereas other countries have increased it. So, people can sit there and pound their chest all they want. We have a very good environmental record under Trump.
And because I wrote this book, I did a lot of research. And when I tell you I've written 200, I'm writing 3 books. I've read 200 books in the last 3 years. And I've read on every subject you can imagine. I'm like obsessed. And there's a counterpoint to every issue. The whole thing about the environment, there's a whole argument that counters the popular argument out there. A lot of these people are pushing these agendas because they're making a fortune
Oh, yeah.
pushing it.
Well, that's what Trump pointed out, why he pulled out of that corrupt treaty, that global treaty, because all it was transferring billions of dollars to these shadowy groups that aren't going to do a damn thing to pull a single carbon out of the atmosphere. They're just putting the money in their pockets.
It's like Oxycontin. Here, it'll kill your pain. Oh, really? It's killed more people than 3 wars. So they're telling you, they're giving you something to kill your pain or make the world a better place or heal the planet. And it's all garbage. I don't trust all of that information anymore. There's too much money invested in it. And I'm willing to be a little more guarded about believing every single thing I hear.
And that's also one of the great contributions that Trump has made, in that he has called out the fake media, and he's shown how the media can mold a topic to fit their own narrative and their agenda. Something that conservatives have been talking about for ages. Now you finally have a president, and they start screaming about a threat to the media. Not at all. He's asking the media to be honest and to not. They do these cockamamie stories every other day. I mean, I get the Boston Globe sends me alerts. Oh, there's a big story, a bombshell. And they all say the same thing. And then 2 days later, everybody forgets it and they move to the next bombshell, because it's like an indoctrination. It's almost like a mind control, and it's obnoxious and it's scary, and it makes me wonder how successful they're going to be. And I think that maybe this impeachment thing that's going on right now, as you and I speak, I mean, I'd like to think this is their last desperate gasp, and they're getting so desperate that I don't know if you've heard the latest coming out of the impeachment hate crowd, and that is that it's the Russians who are controlling this. They're controlling Trump, and they're dictating the.
It's like yelling at the Russians for 3
Oh my God! I mean, we spent $30 million trying to prove that Donald Trump is a Russian spy. It is the weirdest conspiracy theory I've heard in my life, and I've covered a lot of conspiracy theories.
I'm trying to reach women. That's one of the demographics the educated suburban woman. And one of the things that these women are afraid of is that their children will be damaged if they start supporting a man with these values. And one of the things I point out in my book is how many parents have the love of their children, the respect of their children, the admiration of their children. How many parents have their children wanting to work with them, can't wait to work with them? I mean, look at the way his children
His
adore him.
family, oh, it's fantastic. He's got great, I mean, and also, look, he's not advocating any of this stuff. He might have been involved in it years ago, but it's being kept alive by the media who hates him. They're the ones who are frightening women and frightening black people with their propaganda. They're the ones who are really, this is his enemies doing this. I mean, and they're
Here's
doing
another
it for
thing.
self-serving reasons. They don't give a damn about women. I mean, if they cared about women, they'd be attacking Hollywood and Weinstein, and they'd be attacking, all these sleazeballs who are involved with pedophilia over there in Hollywood. They're saying nothing about that. Meanwhile, we have Hollywood people talking about the morals of the country falling apart under Trump. I can't believe some of the tweets I get from people like Rob Reiner. How obnoxious. He knows Weinstein very well, and he knows all the crap that's been going on in Hollywood, and he's going to lecture us about Trump bringing down the morals of America? These
I
people are
wonder
crazy.
sometimes, this may sound a little crazy. You tell me what you think of it. I wonder sometimes if Hollywood is just jealous about how he's stolen the spotlight and stolen their thunder. It's really quite remarkable.
Oh, I think you're onto something there. That's so
When the Beatles
insightful.
became famous, I remember when the
Sure.
Beatles came on the scene, and it was a stunning shock to all of us who were in the music business. My first husband was a rock and roll singer.
Mhm.
And let me tell you something. He had a love-hate relationship with the Beatles. They were a cultural phenomenon. And this is what Trump is. He's a cultural phenomenon. And I think Hollywood is a bunch of brilliant, talented, beautiful people, but in some ways they're spoiled. They're used to a lot of attention. They're used to people falling over when they walk by, cameras shooting their picture every 4 minutes. Guess who stole the spotlight?
You
They
are
like it.
really onto something with that. That
Yeah,
is so true.
I don't think they like it. The
Yeah.
same thing with Meghan Markle. I think she's darling. I think Prince Harry's darling. I'm very compassionate about what's going on with the history and his fear of what happened to his mother and all
Mhm.
that. But you know what? Meghan, God bless her, she's talented. I think there's a little part of her that is not willing to play second fiddle. She's never
Mhm.
going to be queen. She's never going to take the place of the other brother's
Yeah,
wife.
yeah.
She's not used to that. She's used to kicking her competition out of the way and clawing her way to the top. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm.
But I think you've got to
But
call,
that's a big motivation. They
yeah,
can't understand how it could be that
it's
this
too
man has come
difficult
in
to
and he
always
does
be.
it on a shoestring. And meanwhile, the old politicians are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on ads. Trump does it on a shoestring, and he comes in and he kicks their butt.
And now we have Bloomberg with billions of dollars. And guess what? I don't think he's going to be able to buy his way in.
No.
And all the people
No.
he got into Congress, he spent fortunes. I think in the upcoming elections, you're going to see Congress turn Republican.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
I'm
And I,
afraid.
and I think that he's going to do very well among women, minorities, and millennials. And people are going to be shocked to see that.
And you
Because
have to ask yourself
people like
once.
I live in Boston, and you can't be too loud in praising
I
Trump
love the
around
way you
here.
say "can't." Say that again. You
No,
can't
yeah, you can't do
be
it right.
too loud.
It's, but you have to speak sotto voce when you talk about Trump, because the enemies of Trump are so vicious and so
You have to speak
crazed.
what?
They're like twisted.
What do you
And
say? You have to speak Soto.
sotto voce, quietly under the breath. Gee, people say to me,
Oh, that's an interesting expression. I've never heard that before.
yeah. But it's like, hey, I want to make America great. We almost have a code language.
Yeah.
And the thing is, but on election day, they're all going to vote for Trump. And nobody wants to say it publicly because his enemies are so vicious and so virulent and they're so twisted. They're
I
like
worked in
absolutely out of their friggin' minds.
I worked in the campaign offices for the last election.
Yeah.
And I've never done that before in my life. Whatever made me do that, I don't know. I walked in one day and started doing it. And people were just whispering every phone call. I want to vote for Trump, but I don't want to tell anybody.
Right.
You know why? Because they were afraid they'd be seen as prejudiced. It was
Oh,
almost a phenomenon that Barack Obama, God bless him, so handsome, tall, dark, handsome black man. That was a thrilling thing for the black community. They wanted
sure.
a black leader, and that's
Understood,
understandable.
understandably.
Trump
Yeah.
comes along, he's so white, blonde hair. I think people were afraid that they would be seen as racial, which they weren't. It had nothing to do with that. They just liked Trump. So
I
they
think
were
that Trump, in many ways, is the first black president. I mean, he's brought unemployment levels among the black community down to the lowest level ever, and he loves to talk about that.
yeah.
And he's done it. I mean, you couldn't have a better president for the black community than Donald Trump. And he's instilling, and also he relates to the most basic values of the black community: entrepreneurialism, faith. These things have always been the bedrock of our black culture. And I think that Trump is a natural for them. And that's why there's this huge, gargantuan effort to try to discredit him in that community. It's a terrible fear from the left because they've almost created this mentality of plantation for blacks, that you have to support us. And if Trump threatens that in a way that no one has in the past generation, at least.
Who's
And
that
it's
young
very
man
exciting.
who's gay, who is telling all of his community just walk away?
Oh yeah, Brandon Straker.
Yeah. I
Yep.
love his message.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's a message that works and is working for Hispanics, for
Yep.
Asians, for blacks,
Oh, it
for
wouldn't be a beautiful thing if he picks up votes in all of those communities.
yeah.
Probably in
All
every
of these
community except my
groups are
community,
just
the Jewish community, which will never vote for Trump.
that's not true.
I hope it's not true, but
That's not true. Why wouldn't they vote for
I
Trump?
don't know because
Look what
it's
he
for
did.
no sane
Look
reason. I
what he
mean,
did in Israel.
I know this,
The
but
American embassy in Jerusalem.
of
Do that
course,
for 20
it's
years.
not rational. But people come up to me in my synagogue. That's what I mean by soto voce. Chuck, don't tell anybody, but we're with you. That's it's a cultural thing. It's people vote like their parents voted. It's a tribal thing. They've been voting for Democrats since Franklin Roosevelt, putting aside the fact that he did nothing about the Holocaust. We'll ignore that. It's interesting.
The Jewish community, God bless them. The Jewish community has got to embrace the fact that this man is standing up to all of the villains around the world
Yeah,
who are anti-Semitic, who are after the destruction of Israel. I have never seen anybody stand up for Israel the way this
I
man
agree.
is.
I
And I'll tell
totally
you
agree.
something. There's a wonderful author. I'll share this with you. You'll appreciate this. The Oracle by Jonathan Cahn. Have you ever seen that?
Oh yeah, sure, I've heard of him.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
WND
I
books.
should be from promoting my own book. Juxtapose by Sandra Lee. But the
Yeah.
Oracle is fabulous. And what he talks about is biblical prophecy and how it is throughout the Bible and so many magnificent examples. I've got like 10 tapes from him and a book, and brilliant scholar of
Right.
biblical literature. And he feels that Donald Trump, he doesn't just feel it, he's proving it through scripture, through biblical prophecy, that Donald Trump has been precisely chosen by God for this mission for the Jewish people at this time in history. The Jewish people should thank God for this man. He is doing nothing but supporting them and supporting Israel. And And they should be so grateful for the
I
fact that
agree.
he's doing that. His children have married Jewish
They
partners,
have. They have.
Jewish grandchildren. He embraces, he is not in any way
Oh, of course. I mean, look,
prejudiced
that's
against.
the most ridiculous of all these pieces of agitprop that the left comes up with. So, where do you think we are in terms of the impeachment and the upcoming election? Who do you think is going to be the Democrat?
Well, I can tell you I'm not watching the impeachment today.
Right.
I didn't watch it for 5 seconds. I am not giving them the dignity of my attention. How dare they put him through this
Oh my God.
circus?
And they're such liars. I mean, it's
Yeah, I'm
awful.
not watching it. I don't care about it. I can't wait till it goes away. Thank God for Jay Sekulow and
Um,
all those wonderful attorneys who are brilliant and will support him and get him through this. But the left is not going to stop because we're sitting on their money. We're sitting on their power. We may kick them all out
well,
of
I
the
don't know. I don't know what they're going to do once it's over and once Trump is not removed from office. Maybe they'll have to go back to Stormy Daniels. I don't know. What else do they have in their arsenal?
Oh my gosh. It's laughable, really.
Oh my God.
This example after another. Well, thank God he's still standing.
Absolutely.
I am praying.
Oh, I pray for him every day.
Yeah, I'm
I
praying.
can't believe, you also capture in this book. I mean, there is something about him. And for a man his age to have that kind of energy and that kind of focus, it's incredible. It's inspiring.
It's terrifying, especially if you're me and you're trying to stay young and pretty and vibrant and significant and viable. I go, how the heck does he do this? He's got me going to the gym every day and the pool every
It's
day
amazing.
and eating
I,
because I'm
I,
going.
I pray for him. And I think that I really believe Trump when he says, and this is that he's had everything he could want in life. He's rich, he's famous, he's got all the creature comforts you can imagine, he's got a great family. And I think that he has reached the age where he wants to do something for the country. He doesn't have anything to gain. He's lost money for this. I mean, this whole idea that it's an emolument, it's ridiculous. His daughter had to close the door of her business because of the haters. He's doing it at great sacrifice to himself and his family to have to go through this crap. And I think he's doing it for all the right reasons. He wants to do something in his life to give something back to the country that has given him the ability to be as successful
Yeah,
as he is. And I believe that.
it's a sincere gesture of love and growth on his part. And I'm so grateful for him and so happy for him that he's happy. This man is happy. How could you be happy with all this craziness going on? I love when he does a rally and there are 10, 20,000, 30,000 people there and they're all laughing. He's laughing. He's having fun.
And people are lined up outside listening to speakers. There has never, I mean, this is a phenomenon. I don't think there's been there hasn't been a speaker like this since William Jennings Bryan, who is a similar, he reminds me of that. Anyway, Sandra, let my listeners and viewers know where they can get your book, where they can reach you. If you want to send us to any websites, hold it up.
Let them know. I'm so thrilled that you had me on. This is the cover. It's pretty, isn't it? I have a photographer right in town. I ran over there one day in a hurry. I said, I need a cover. Son of a gun. He
did a great job.
Pretty cover.
Yes.
Dear Donald, Letters from a Loving Deplorable. This is book 1. I'm almost ready to publish book 2, which will be Dear Donald, 4 More Years. And then book 3 will be Dear Donald, A Rainbow Over a Winter Sky.
All right.
Yeah, so that would be good. And you can get these books at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Mm-hmm. And I'll give you my social media contacts too, so you can get in touch with me. I know where they are.
Is there a website?
Person? Here we go. You can reach me at www.deardonaldbooks.com, or you can email me at sandralee@deardonaldbooks.com.
All right. Sandra Lee, I want to thank you again for joining me. It's a great time.
Oh, it's been fun talking to you. Thank you so much
We'll do it
for
again
including.
as the season moves forward. I'd like to have you back at some time.
I'm here all day, every day, writing books.
Excellent. Thanks
And
a lot, Sandra.
my pleasure. Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.